What is marriage according to canon law? In canon law and theology, marriage is a lifetime exclusive partnership between one man and one woman who give and receive mutual help and love from their union, bringing forth and rear children. Marriages are always valid until proven otherwise. If a marriage involves two baptized people, it is presumed not only valid but also sacramental. If one or both parties is unbaptized, the marriage is still presumed to be valid and a good and natural bond. The definition of marriage according to CAC CAN 1055. Matrimonial covenant by which a man and a woman establish between themselves a consortium of the whole life and which, by its very nature, is ordered to the good of the spouses and to the procreation and education of children, has been raised by Christ the Lord to the dignity of a sacrament between baptized persons. So, how does one consider a marriage to be valid? Here is the tripod of validity. First of which is the capacity and or the legal capacity to marry. It's defined as a freedom from any and all matrimonial diriment impediments. Next is consent. The marriage should be free, true, and a deliberate option. Last but not least is the canonical form. It is defined as the constitutive procedure for the celebration of marriage as stipulated by church law. So, how is a marriage considered null? Here are the marriage nullity grounds. First of which is canonical form and the other is consent.
Now we'll be discussing Diriment Impediments, but only briefly as this will be discussed more thoroughly by Group 3. Now, according to CAN 1073, a Diriment Impediment renders a person incapable of validly contracting a marriage. Now, what is Diriment? Diriment means opposed to the validity of the matrimonial contract which hinders the free action of an agent, which in this case is the act of contracting marriage, gravely prohibiting marriage, and oppose a valid celebration of marriage. Now, what is the purpose and legal consequence? The purpose is to guarantee the good of the entirety of the community and to avoid that damage be inflicted either personally or directly to a person. Now, in for legal consequence, a marriage celebrated by an ineligible person renders the celebration unlawful and invalidates ipso iure the marriage contract. Now, the classification of Diriment impediments. First is public or occult. Now, public is considered when it can be proven in an official setting such as an ecclesiastical court through evidence like witness testimonies, expert evaluations, or public and private documents. For occult, it is considered when it cannot be proven in an ecclesiastical court unless the person involved reveals it. It may still be true or provable, but it remains hidden unless disclosed. Next is of divine law or ecclesiastical law. Of divine law, this law comes directly from God and is revealed through divine revelation. It is unchangeable and no one can be exempted from following it. Ecclesiastical law is created by the church for the guidance of its members. It only applies to the baptized Catholics or those officially part of the church. In some cases, exemptions can be granted by a church authority. Next is absolute or relative. Absolute affects all marriages like being too young, already married, or having religious promises. Means the person can't marry anyone at all unless the issue is fixed. For relative, affect it affects marriage with just one specific person, like a close relative or someone connected by law or crime. The person can still marry others, just not that specific one. Next is perpetual or temporary. Perpetual lasts forever by its name. Now, it can never be removed or end, not even with time or permission. For temporary, lasts only for a time or until someone changes, e.g., age, holy order, or having a spouse. Can end with time or when the reason no longer exists, death of a spouse.
Greetings to everyone. Good day, and I'm Austin Norelia. This is for our theology, which is the schematic overview of detriment impediments. Now, for starters, this is gonna be an overview, not very detailed. We're just gonna go through them easily, so that the next group can talk about them in greater detail. Now, these are the impediments of divine and natural law, in which case we are going to be talking about three things first, which is impotence. It is when one of the partners or one of the person you're supposed to marry cannot consummate the marriage, yes, through sexual intercourse, or if they cannot procreate with you. Secondly, is a previous bond. If one of them had a former partner, if they were married before, you cannot have a new marriage unless the former partner has died or you have agreed to an annulment. In that case, a new marriage would have been valid. And the third one is consanguinity. Now, this is more about the relation that the two people have. If they are closely related or even um, a little more close in terms of blood, like second degree in consanguinity, you cannot marry each other. Now, moving on, we will be talking about the impediments of ecclesiastical law, um, dispensation reserved to the Holy See. Sorry for the background. Now, we have three, which is a sacred order. You, you cannot be married if you are in a sacred order. And secondly, public perpetual vow of chastity. If you have a vow of chastity, you cannot marry. And finally, crime. A, a crime cannot be rewarded with marriage. So you cannot be married to someone if you have performed a crime. Okay, now we will be talking about the impediments of ecclesiastical law. Uh, this decision can only be given by local ordinary. We have age. Yes, age. You cannot really be married if you are not in the right age. Disparity of cult. Now, disparity of cult, you cannot really marry if you have two different cults or if they cannot help in continuing the Catholic Christian beliefs in the marriage. Thirdly is abduction. You cannot marry someone if you have abducted them, if they do not have the free will to say yes or no to the marriage. And of course, the one we have talked about is the collateral line of consanguinity. You can't marry someone you are closely related to. Um, Affinity, if they have had affinity to you in some way. Public propriety, and of course, adoption. And that would be all. I hope the next group can provide a greater in depth explanation. And thank you for everything. Thank you for listening.